Welcome to Plugged In with Pando. We're here today to talk about the future of EV charging. A quick overview of everything we're going to review and talk about today. We're going to talk about the problems that we run into with multifamily and the Pando solution, how Pando goes about solving some of those problems, including maintenance costs, electrical capacity, connectivity, especially limited connectivity, management systems, and closed proprietary systems. Towards the end, we'll do a quick overview of our dashboard and app, close with the benefits of Pando, and then leave some contact information up in case anybody wants to get in touch and go into a little bit more detail with us. So to start, we've noticed in the multifamily space when it comes to EV charging is that we've got residents who are demanding and asking for access to EV charging and not necessarily understanding the complexities and the cost associated with adding EV charging to a property. On the flip side, you've got the building management, building ownership that are looking into it and realizing that a lot of traditional solutions are very costly, very complex, and oftentimes unreliable. When we talk about reliability, the reliability is important for uptime and being able to use it for the residents, but that downtime also comes with maintenance costs. When chargers break down, all the repair and replacement stuff is very frustrating to residents and management and ownership, but it's also costly and it drains budgets pretty quickly. And that's where the Pando Smart Outlet solution comes into play. We are designed around a very simple yet very powerful outlet-based solution that's designed to be maintenance-free, rugged, and tested to last up to 40 years with a 7-year warranty on the hardware out of the box, which is significantly longer than industry standards. And you can see it. It's very cost effective, it's very scalable, it fits into your parking area very easily. And we'll get into some more of the complexities with that soon. But I also wanted to discuss quickly the Pando Plus charger, which is the first of its kind modular design, smart outlet plus certified charging cord that mimics the look and feel of a traditional EVSE, except it is modular in the sense that the certified cord can be unplugged and removed. In the case of damage or an issue, it's as simple as unplugging and plugging in a replacement as opposed to waiting on a replacement part, hiring an electrical contractor. So it does save a lot of time and a good amount of budget. And, we have the ability because they're built on the same platform for these to be mixed and matched across a property. There's situations where the outlet only design makes a lot of sense. I'm thinking resident parking where folks know that they can use their own charging cord that came with their vehicle, and they're very comfortable with that and using it on a regular basis. And I'm thinking the Pando Plus with the cord included in maybe the mixed use area, guest parking area, where you can't guarantee that folks are going to be able to have their charging cord on them at all times. And everything lives and breathes under the same ecosystem and looks the same on the dashboard, which we'll talk about a little bit more later on. The other thing that we run into is a lack of electrical capacity. Now, this kind of cuts both ways. In a retrofit situation or an existing building situation, a lot of times buildings weren't built with a ton of excess capacity with the thought that, oh, we're going to have to add EV chargers to this building 10 years from now. We better leave a lot of extra space. We run into that quite a bit. The other side of that coin is some markets where you're now being asked or I guess required by code to include a certain amount of EV charging or design around making X percentage, sometimes up to 100% of your parking area EV ready or EV capable. And that's where electrical upgrades or the cost of the infrastructure for EV charging can get really, really overwhelming. And it just leads to a lot of very, very high price points and makes things very cost prohibitive. The Pando solution, which we call Pando Pulse, works in a number of different ways, both in new construction and in retrofit situations. But we're able to share circuits on a panel. We're able to share a whole panel amongst EV chargers. If we have an EV only panel, that's a little bit more common in new construction situations. We're also able, with the Pando Plus, including the certified cord, to do full building energy management and load balancing across the system. So all of that to say, we can essentially take in a retrofit situation, the electrical capacity that the building has the day we get there and maximize it to the best of our ability to get as much access, expand as much access to EV charging as possible without needing costly upgrades and bringing in larger services and bigger panels. And on the new construction side of things, what we can do is design around minimizing the amount of electrical capacity that you have to dedicate towards EV charging, which is going to shrink your switchgear. It's going to shrink some of your labor and your conduit and your wire runs when the building is being built, so long as we're looking at the code and designing it around code minimums. Another big problem we run into pretty frequently in really anywhere, indoor parking garages, is unreliable or lack of internet or cellular. Again, a lot of these places were built before we thought about needing Wi-Fi and cellular access in the parking garage. And what that leads to is when you're putting in a traditional non-Pando solution in a lot of cases, you have to blanket the entire parking area in a cellular connection or blanket the whole area in Wi-Fi, which gets really expensive, not just on the hardware side, but installation, pipe and wire, all of that adds up. Or you're, putting in cellular chargers where you're paying an ongoing data fee. Each charger has a SIM card in it and has a data fee associated with it monthly. And if the signal's not great, not only are you paying for it, but it's unreliable, it's not working very well, and the chargers tend to be offline or down or just very unreliable. Pando solves for that with what we call the Pando Canopy. The number one way we do this is there's a wireless mesh network that these outlets are built on. So we need one point of communication, one point of connectivity to the internet, whether it's cellular or Wi-Fi, for one outlet. We'll call that the router outlet. From there, every outlet, because of the strength of the antenna and the technology that these are built on, will then connect via daisy chain to that same internet connection and feed it one way all the way around the whole system to each other. The range is pretty incredible outlet to outlet. It's dual band, so it can actually cut through concrete and things that are, blocking visibility from charger to charger, outlet to outlet rather. And it really just limits and cuts down the amount of communication hardware and labor associated with installing communication gear. We take it a step further. We know there's going to be cases where, or even that, which is very simple and cuts costs pretty tremendously, isn't going to work. You're 5 floors below ground, whatever the case might be, and getting an internet signal or a cellular signal down there is going to be really challenging or very, very cost prohibitive. We can also operate in what we call relay mode, where we don't need access to the internet. We're actually utilizing the driver's cell phone to store session data briefly, and then when that phone becomes connected to the internet again, it's going to feed the information back up to the cloud. So all the session data is essentially passed through each driver's phone and then stored on the cloud and back into our dashboard. Another thing that we run into pretty frequently when talking to multifamily owners and operators is that they have too many management systems. They have a prop tech platform and they have the platform for the gym and they have all sorts of different things. They're juggling a lot of logins, a lot of platforms, trying to make sure that they're maximizing and optimizing energy management and access control and all sorts of different things. It's very, very complex on the administrative side, which leads to higher costs and a lot more wasted time. Pando's way of solving this is by unifying everything via API. So we support Open API. We support essentially seamlessly weaving ourselves into your prop tech or your property management platform. So everything simple, seamless, and automated will just live within your existing platform to make things much easier on the property management side. Another thing that we've run into, and you've seen with NLX Juicebox and a number of other folks that have either exited the North American market or gone out of business completely, is the closed proprietary systems lead to stranded assets. So you've invested in EV charging, all this infrastructure, just to have 3 years down the line, a company go out of business, pull out of the North American market, and leave you stranded. The chargers, electrically technically should work. They are connected to, they have power, they're ready to go, but they're not connected to the internet, which means they're not able to actually let people charge their cars, and they're not compatible with any other software solution. So you're stuck ripping them out and replacing them and essentially going through the trouble of reinstalling and starting from scratch after you've already invested a lot of time, energy, and capital into adding EV charging to the property. Pando's solve for this is open standards. We fully support OCPP 2.0.1, and we won't go too deep and too technical on this, but OCPP is essentially a language. And what it means is hardware and software, what level of fluency do they have with that language? And you are OCPP certified or OCPP compliant. It means that your hardware and your software are able to speak not just to each other, but to any hardware and software that are also OCPP 2.0 compliant. All this means is that they're interoperable, they're future-proof, and you're limiting your stranded assets because they're compatible with other software solutions if needed down the road. Quick overview of the Pando ecosystem. So you'll see there, this is where you'll log in and see how the chargers are performing in real time and historically, the amount of energy they've consumed, the amount of drivers that are using them, session data, how much money they've made, most importantly. It's also where you're going to be able to see who can access them, make changes to who can access them, make changes to who can, how much it's going to cost people to charge if you want to increase or decrease pricing after having some data there. So it's really, really good data. And like I said before, you can pull historical data, download it, add it to a slide deck if you need to add it to a larger revenue table or something like that. We try to make it very simple. And on the right-hand side there, that's the app view. The drivers will interact with our chargers in a number of different ways, but a lot of times via the app. And that's where they're going to be able to see their own specific usage data. And then quick touch point here on, again, the app and the dashboard. So one new interesting thing that we've been able to add with the Gen 2 hardware is Apple Pay, Google Pay integration. So you can see there on the left, there's an NFC reader there. Once you have the Pando app, you can add your credentials to Apple Pay or Google Pay wallet on your phone, and it's as quick as,
mobile app.
tapping it on the face when you have the wallet open. No different than, checking out quickly with Apple Pay or Google Pay at the grocery store or the gas station. So we really are trying our best to make this as simple and seamless for the property side, but also as simple and seamless for the drivers and the residents as well. Pando Advantage, we've covered it across this whole discussion here, but just to reiterate, lower installation costs, and that's driven by, the size and simplicity of the unit itself, the ability to split across circuits, split across panels, load share, load manage, minimizing the amount of electrical infrastructure you need to add, the amount of trenching you're going to need to do. Maintenance costs go to little or zero in most cases because we're eliminating cut cords, damaged cords, downtime. Because it's an outlet-based solution, it is universal. The vehicle's cord will have a NEMA 1450 plug on the end of it, which is exactly what we have on the outlet there. So whether it's a NACS adapter or J1772, the outlet will support all drivers. And it's really the first of its kind, high-powered, outlet-based solution that's designed specifically for multifamily and with all things multifamily in mind. We appreciate your time, appreciate you listening in. And, next time we'd love to take what was mostly me talking and explaining and turn it into a conversation. So there's a lot of information there on the screen, ways to get in touch with us or follow along with us. If you'd like to schedule some time to dig into anything that we've talked about in more detail and go through more of a live demo, please reach out. We look forward to discussing Pando multifamily charging Gen 2 in greater detail with you soon. But for now, thanks for tuning in to Plugged In with Pando.